Hey y'all, it's Jess from Hobby Jobby Creations, and I am back with another tutorial for you guys. This one has been requested of me a lot of times, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me so long to make it, guys. I broke my ankle earlier this year. I don't have a whole lot of space, and I'm getting ready for a really big move, okay, which hopefully will give me more space to start making more videos more frequently. We hope. But first, before we get started, if you are new to my channel, if you would please give me a like and a subscribe, leave me a comment if you'd like to. Today I am going to show you guys how I sublimate my own fabric so that I can make more customizable projects when I sew. So this is the Lil Heartbreaker Wristlet. This is a design by K.Azcona Designs. I hope I said that correctly. I will link it down below. The design that I'm going to be showing y'all today is the SpongeBob design. I know it's July, but spooky season's coming, okay? And I love spooky season. So this is a Lyss Doodles design. I will also link that down below. Cutest designs on Lyss Doodles site, let me tell you what. But yes, and I absolutely love this heart-shaped bag. Like, oh, my heart, really though. So when we get into this video, we are going to start out with the computer portion, which is where I'm going to show you how I get my designs. I'm going to show you how I piece it together. I'm also going to show you how I tile the pages together to make, basically a 15 by 15 size. Mine ends up being 14 by 13 because I like to keep it a little smaller than the press. But I'm going to show you guys how to do all the computer portion first, and then I'm going to talk about fabric and the pressing process. Not too much on the pressing process. It's just temps and times, right? But yeah, so without making this intro any longer, let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to pick our image. Now, for anybody who doesn't really know where to find these images, I just go on Etsy most times and I'll type in seamless files or seamless patterns or anything like that, and you'll find just a bunch of them by different creators, and like they just have so many, and then you can buy these patterns and then download them, obviously, and then you can use those patterns. Then we are going to go, I use Photoshop. You can use whatever editing app you feel comfortable with, but this is just my process. So I go to new file, and the size I like to go with is 14 by 13 because I have the Epson 2720. So on the Epson 2720, you can do up to a legal size of paper. So 14 by 13 is where I can piece two pages together and stay within that legal size paper limitations. And I can have that's like the max image that I want to make because I have a press that is 15 by 15 and I like to keep my presses within that realm. You can go bigger than that, but then it requires multiple presses and all that jazz. So I just like to keep it simple. So I just set my width at 14 because I like to keep it in, because when we overlap, you're going to need a little bit of space to the sides. And then my height, I'm going to put it 13 because that's an inch shorter than my paper. So then we're going to hit create. Now, when we're in here, we're going to import our image. My image is this adorable SpongeBob image by Lyss Doodles. Now, I'm kind of happy this little box is on here because I don't want her image to be able to be stealable. So yeah, anyway, so what I end up doing is I resize this image. My go-to sizing, I can right click on this and click inches. My go-to sizing is usually anywhere from 6 to 8 inches. And then I'm just going to align it up to that corner there. I'm going to click off of it. Okay. And then I right click over here. I'm going to duplicate my layer. And then I'm just going to keep on duplicating the layer because it's only going to print off whatever is inside of that region there, right? And so I'll just go ahead and duplicate all 3 of these layers, highlight all 3 of these layers, hit duplicate, And then I'm just going to copy that process all the way down. See, everything's lining up just perfect. Okay, so once we have our full image here, and like I said, these black boxes and stuff are showing up just to block out the image. So it's actually a very clean image on my end. Okay, so then all of this will show up. And then once you have all this put together, what I like to do just to make it one good piece is highlight all of these different layers, right click it, and then hit merge. So you merge them all into one file. Okay. And then from there, you're going to save this. And I'll probably end up putting a watermark over this too, even though I know we got all these crazy black boxes and things, but I'm probably going to put a watermark over it too, just to protect her image. Okay, and then up here, we're going to save it as a copy. Okay, I'm just going to put it on my desktop. We'll just put sponge tutorial or sponge toot. I don't know. But we're going to change this to a PDF because this is how I make it to where I can print a larger image than one page. Okay, so sponge toot, we're going to save it to our desktop. Okay, save PDF, yes. Okay, now we have opened a sponge toot in Adobe. Now, to print this, I'm going to hit the printer button, right? So I have my Epson here set up. So the first thing I click to be able to do print a big image on multiple pages is I'm going to hit poster, which I've already got it on poster because typically it would just be on size and it would, look like that. We're going to click poster. Now, overlap, I'm going to set that to 1 inch. Okay. And then I just usually click somewhere else so that it'll reset this so I can see it. And that 1 inch is going to be in the center seam here of the image. And that's just where your two pages are going to overlap each other. And that's the way you're going to get your seamless, appearance here in the middle where the two papers come together. Okay, so I've got my Epson clicked. Let me look through my properties. See, long paper is a setting that I've created in mine. So it's going to be, for mine, it's the legal paper. You can do short paper as well. You just have to resize your images accordingly to fit on those smaller pages. Onto your sublimation paper, that is. And so mine is the legal paper. So I have 8.5 by 14. I keep it portrait, premium presentation paper matte, high quality, color, of course. Don't worry about two-side printing, no multi-page. None of this really matters. So I like to do my print preview. Then I go over to more options. Make sure everything's okay. Over here, I make sure that high speed is not clicked, nor rotation, but I do hit mirror image so that the image will be backwards on the paper, but it'll come out right when we press it at the press. Okay, and then after that, you're going to hit OK, and you will hit print. Now, I have already printed my finished image, so I won't have to worry about having these black boxes on my images. So after you print it, that's when we're going to come back and we're going to talk about piecing everything together and pressing. Okay, so now that we have our images printed out, the first thing I wanted to show you was the fabric. So this is 100% polyester fabric. That's what you're going to need. Now, as far as where to get this, you can get this at a lot of fabric stores. I've gotten it from a local fabric store in my area. However, I cut this piece off of this. And believe it or not, I don't have the actual wrapping anymore for it. But it's actually from a sheet set. It's just some cheap bed sheets that I bought from the store. And I just cut them up. Look, here's a pillowcase for proof. Like, I literally just took a cheap sheet set. 100% polyester, white cheap sheet set. And I cut it up and I sublimate it. And I make beautiful things. Okay, so before we start doing any sublimating or handling the fabric, we have to prepare our printout. So we have the 2 pages that we printed out, right? You remember that 1 inch thing that we typed in when we were about to print? That is the amount of overlap we're going to have on the image, okay? So there is, what's going to happen is we're going to end up cutting the image and we're going to piece it together to where the image lines up perfectly, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So I just take a pair of scissors, regular scissors for paper cutting. Don't use your fabric scissors unless you want to, you know, choose violence. And then what I do is I just, within that 1 inch margin, so I try to stay kind of close to the edge there, but get rid of the white, and I just do a little squiggly line. And the squiggly line is just so that, like, if your sublimation image does end up messing up, or, you know, I don't know, sometimes it does like weird blurs and things like that, it's less noticeable when, especially if your image is super busy like this one, but also if it's like this, because it's not a straight line with craziness going on. So it's not as pronounced. And so we're going to do that to that side of that sheet, and then we're going to do it on this side of this sheet. All right. So now you see I only cut off like this much of a sliver. It's not even a half an inch of a sliver off of each end of these things. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're not going to line them up like that. We're going to overlap them. So it's not a big deal. Okay. So now we're going to come to the part where we start overlapping. Okay. So now this is the part that can either be a blessing and be super quick and easy, or it can absolutely be the most horrible part of this whole thing, is trying to line these images up. I would love to have a bigger printer one day, so this wouldn't be a problem for me, but I've got to wait until I have the space for that, which will hopefully be soon. Okay, so try your hardest to just pull your hands up and don't move it. So for me, this is looking good, okay? So now I'm going to take my heat tape, and I got this little nifty thing from Amazon, in case anybody cares. And I am going to get me, so I'm just going to put my finger kind of right here, you know, just kind of work my way so that I don't shift anything. And then right at the top here, try not to get it on your image. If I get this smallest little segment, I'm not worried about it. Okay. So I'm going to do that on the top. And then I'm double making sure that I haven't shifted anything. Okay. And then I'm going to put that also in that white segment at the bottom. Okay, so now that you have your tape at the top and at the bottom, as carefully as you can, because this tape comes off pretty easy and it can shift, what we're going to do is we are going to try to carefully flip this to the back. Okay. And we'll just try and, you know, make sure it's still flat and taut. Make sure that tape is still in position. Hopefully we didn't get any shifting, because that was kind of a messy flip I did. I'm going to take a much longer piece of tape, and I am going to line it up like this right here. And I'm just going to try to get both sides on there. Okay. Now, we are on there. We got both pages together. Okay. And just, if I get too much tape like this, watch this. Watch this. You watching? This is what I do right here. Okay. I'm just going to take this. And you know what? It's just going to put the end right here above that. And it's just going to give me a little pull tabby to hold on to or something. I don't know. There we go. Yeah. Just a little tabby like we do on the boxy bag. Just kidding. Okay. So. Alright, now I just got some little carry tabbies. Works great. Okay, so now we have our image cut, taped together, everything's lined up, looks good. So what you're going to want to do is preheat your press to 400 degrees. Okay, so we're going to have our heat press at 400 degrees. Okay, all right, so here's our fabric. And just one last testy McTest. We're going to make sure that that's going to fit on there. And yeah, the full image is going to be covered by the fabric, or a lot of times the fabric is thin enough that you can actually see that we're going to have plenty of overhang here. That's wonderful. Okay. So now we're going to take our fabric, and of course, as we do with sublimation, we're going to make sure that we lint roll it because we don't want a bunch of imperfections in our print. Okay. And then what we're going to do first, and this is something that I really, really highly suggest, is that you pre-press your fabric. And I'm talking about a full press. Like, press it for 60 seconds at 400 degrees. And my reasoning is that this polyester fabric, it don't matter what brand I've used or what, it likes to come in. It likes to shrink inward like that. So your image looks so clear and pristine to the middle. But then as you come out, it starts to look blurry, like doubled almost, as if it shifted. And that's because that fabric is shrinking. So you want to pre-press it before you ever do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-press it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So get a good look now. I'm going to go press it. And then you're going to see the difference after I pressed it. So now we have pre-pressed our fabric. You see how it's nice and smooth. And it actually has almost a different feeling to it. And that's because of the shrinking. Okay, so it's actually slightly firmer than it was before. Okay, which is fine. That just helps out. Okay, and another thing that I do is I like to take it off of the press and let it cool down. It don't have to sit out for like a whole long time. Just let it cool back down to like room temp or something, or less warm than 400 degrees. This could just be pure superstition, but I've just noticed that when I do that, my prints turn out better. Okay, so when we put this on the machine, we're going to use, this is parchment paper. Okay, this slice actually may be too small. This is like the end of my last roll, so it's okay. I have another roll. But what we're going to end up doing is we're going to make sure that we have one piece that is bigger. It's going to go on the press before your fabric. Okay, and then on your press, we are going to put our piece of fabric, and not my piece of hair that got on there. We're going to put paper, fabric, okay, and then face down onto the fabric. So we have paper on the press, fabric on the press. Now we are going to put the paper over top, make sure it's on top of your fabric, and because you don't want to lose any of your image, okay? And then you're going to take another piece of paper. This is just parchment paper, butcher paper, whatever you might have. Okay. We'll end up taking another piece of paper. We want to make sure he's bigger in that area too, because we don't want any of the ink to bleed through and to get onto our press or anything like that. See, so it's going to be paper, fabric, then your sublimation printout, and then another paper, and then we're going to press it. And remember, we are going to go to the press, and we're going to press this for 400 degrees. So it's going to be set at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to press that for 60 seconds. Okay, and look at this. Look at these beautiful colors. Here we are with our pressed piece of fabric. Now this is usable. You can put your pattern pieces on here if you'd like, you know, go ahead and start cutting and start making, start sewing. Remember how we did the diag, or the little squiggly line down the middle? That was just in case this shmush stuff right here was going to happen. And it did. Sometimes I don't get it. Sometimes I do get it. Let's be honest. A lot of times I do get it. I'm not perfect. But typically it's not a big deal. You can put pattern pieces around it in a way that it doesn't matter. Also, a lot of people never even notice it until you point it out. Okay? But especially with a very beautiful, busy design like this, a lot of colors, a lot of stuff going on, your eyes are dragged all over the design. It's not so focused on that. Okay? So don't worry about that. But anyway, that is our beautiful piece of fabric. Remember to go visit Lyss Doodles' site. I will link it below so that everybody can go and get designs as well, because they are wonderful. I've also got an amazing Rugrats printout, some happy faces, some crazy colorful checker patterns. Like, there's all kinds of stuff on that site. So a lot of beautiful patterns, a lot of wonderful artwork, and a lot of stuff that's really going to make your items pop for your customers, for your family members, for your friends, whoever. I know this sounds like an ad for her now. I'm sorry. I just really liked it recently, and I wanted to use this fabric to show you guys how I do this process. All right, y'all, so that is our fabric, and that's how I do my process. Another video that other people have asked me for is how I also made, I sublimated my own, I don't know if y'all can see these from that distance, but my own little sew-in tags. So I am going to try and put together another video on what I used and how I did that process as well. It's a very similar process. It's actually probably easier. And it's really cool too, because you can make your own designs the same way. Anyways, I really hope that this video was helpful to some of you. I'm sorry it took me so long to make it to those of you who've been asking for it. I apologize. Life has been a little crazy, but you know, it's how it is, I guess, right? For all of us. Anyway, if you liked this video, if it was any help to you, comment, share, subscribe, like, all that jazz. But anyway, until the next one, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I will see y'all later.